Welcome to Broncos Weekend, presented by Ent Credit Union, the official banking partner of the Denver Broncos.
Hello everyone, and welcome to a very special edition of Broncos Weekend here from West Virginia, where the Broncos have been all week in preparation to take on the Jets in New York. I'm your team reporter, Elisa Hernandez. This is our lead writer for DenverBroncos.com, Aric DiLalla, and we'll check in with our Denver Broncos studio also in the show. We have a really great show for you guys today. We're going to start off by just asking, how have you enjoyed the week here in West Virginia as we've been preparing for week 4?
Yeah, I mean, it's beautiful, right? Like, look around us. You got the rolling hills of West Virginia. The leaves are starting to change. I think it's a good thing for this team, too. You get a chance to bond. We've heard guys say, there's not, a lot to do other than spend time and really get to know each other, build some chemistry, and that's what this team needs. Obviously, fresh off a big win against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and looking to stack another one and keep this thing rolling here.
Yeah, this road trip, they're hoping to go 2-0 before heading back home to Denver to face the Raiders. And to start the season, they have faced very, very tough defenses. You start with Seattle, then you go to Pittsburgh, then Tampa Bay, and now you're facing that Jets defense.
Yeah, and they're rolling right now, obviously. Just had a really nice performance against the Patriots in week 3. Will McDonald, 5 sacks off the edge. He's got the second most in the NFL behind Aiden Hutchinson in Detroit. And then you talk about a guy like Quinnen Williams up front pushing the middle of that pocket. You got Sauce Gardner back there at cornerback, who other than Pat Surtain is right up there as one of the best cornerbacks in the entire league. So this is going to be a challenge, and the Broncos offense has to find a way to do kind of what they did last week against Tampa, which is continue to find that success. Maybe it's shots down the field, maybe it's establishing a running game. We'll see what the game plan holds, but this is a tough challenge again, but hopefully the Broncos are up for it, and certainly they took a step in that direction in week 3.
Well, earlier this week, we caught up with some of the players after practice to see exactly how this week helped them prepare to face the Jets.
We want to keep a routine as much as possible, kind of do the same things that you've been doing, but at the same time, you have some room to hang out with the guys, and you're not at home, so you can treat it a little bit differently. At the same time, rest and get ready for the game on Sunday.
You can tell the level of chemistry is building and building each and every day while we're here, in this space. And I think we have a lot to our disposal to enjoy here at the resort, and we're enjoying every bit of it. So
we see a lot of the guys getting ready to face this really tough offense with Aaron Rodgers. How do you even begin to slow them down? I know this defense has been playing very well.
Yeah, well, I think that's part of it, is you hope the defense just keeps doing what it's doing, because it is a top unit right now, top 5 in yards allowed, top 10 in points allowed. I mean, this group has played about as well as you can possibly play early in the season. You've got Pat Surtain holding that one side down. Obviously, we'll see how much he goes against Garrett Wilson this weekend. And then you've got Riley Moss playing really well. It's up front that I think is going to be the key, because when you look at the New York Jets, Aaron Rodgers is better than just about anybody when it comes to going against the blitz. And especially against New England, he had just a couple of incompletions when he faced the blitz. And obviously, the Broncos like to blitz a lot. Their 50% blitz rate is the highest in the NFL. So we'll have to figure that out, and it will have to be without Alex Singleton, unfortunately.
Yeah, on Wednesday, the Broncos announced that inside linebacker Alex Singleton will undergo season-ending surgery for that torn ACL. We spoke to Bo Nix and Pat Surtain about what it means to lose their fellow captain.
It's going to be tough. We're going to have to, definitely play big and play, important roles around him. And you can't replace a guy like Alex, but I think, you can rise up around him and help that loss out a little bit.
making sure we're on the same page, making sure the standard stays the same, making sure we execute the same way. And it's going to be tough, but obviously we got guys stepping in that's going to be key, key components to our defense. And, we're looking for them to step in and make plays. So my job increases even more being the leader out there for the team, for sure.
Hearing from Nix and Surtain, you obviously see what Alex Singleton means to this team, but coming from your perspective, what does a loss like this do for this defense?
Yeah, I think there's a couple factors here, right? One is the emotional leader as a captain. He's a guy that's always fired up to play the game. He's excited to be out there. I mean, heck, he stayed out there and played the entire game, even though he injured his ACL. He tore his ACL in the first quarter. I mean, that's unheard of. Sean Payton said he's never seen anything like that before. But also there's the mental element, right? He wears the green dot on his helmet. He's getting the play calls to these different defenders. He's making sure they're set up, certainly against a guy like Aaron Rodgers, who is so good pre-snap, who's going to identify your weakness. You need to make sure that the communication is there. So that's something the Broncos definitely have to figure out going into this matchup. And then there's finally the physical aspect, right? I mean, he's been their leading tackler the last 2 years, had a ridiculous number of tackles a year ago, already 30 plus to start this season. So it's kind of 3 layers there, and they're going to have to find a way to move on without him.
And when you think about that, Bo Nix said it, there's no replacing Alex Singleton, but who can step up to really help this defense out?
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to see. A guy like Christian Welch could maybe be an answer there. Quan Alexander and Zach Cunningham signed to the practice squad this week. Sean Payton on Wednesday was not willing to kind of divulge which way they were going to go, but did say there are a few different answers, so we'll have to wait and see on Sunday which way this defense goes.
Well, head coach Sean Payton also announced that Tyler Bradey will be on the 53-man roster. What does a guy like that bring to that offense?
Yeah, I mean, he's another guy that was part of these series of roster moves, and I think just explosiveness, he's taking advantage of his opportunities, and he's going to try to continue to make the most of them, and he can be a good complement to a guy like Javonte Williams or Jaleel McLaughlin.
Well, we caught up with Jaleel McLaughlin after practice, and we talked about his first touchdown on Sunday, and also just how he is preparing to face the Jets. A pit stop here in West Virginia before you guys go to New York, all part of this East Coast road trip. How have you used this week to prepare yourself for the Jets?
You know, I just been out here enjoying it, soaking it in with the team, and you know, really just having a good time, team bonding, and also just you know, working as hard as we can so we can go back home 2-0.
You have been seen out in the field really early, rain or shine. You're kind of out here. What does that alone time help you focus on, and how did that become part of your routine?
You know, for one, it just like you know, like I said, I was just enjoying the atmosphere, and you know, this is what I do when I'm back home, so I just try to do the same thing. And you know, it's just been great. It's been great here working as hard as I can to help this team win football games. And that's what I'm gonna keep doing. Rain, snow, sleet, it don't matter what it is. I'm gonna keep working hard.
You guys were able to get that first win in week 3. You guys are firing on all cylinders. How do you guys take that momentum into week 4?
We build off of it. I think we just keep building off of it and doing our job one day at a time.
You got your first rushing touchdown of the season. I know that felt good, right?
Yeah, it felt great. It felt great to be, you know, back in the end zone for sure, and putting points on the team because defense been playing great football. So to actually compliment their hard work, I think that was after Brandon caught an interception. So be able to go and punch a touchdown in was it was great.
You guys seem to be in a better rhythm offensively. How do you guys make sure that you guys get off to that quick tempo again early?
You know, I think we just got to start fast. We got to start fast, just like last game. We started fast, and Bo was doing a great job getting the ball down the field, and you know, doing his job, and the receivers doing their job, offensive line doing their job, and you know, the running backs going to keep working hard to do their job. So I think that you know, it was an all-around team effort, and tight ends also doing a great job as well. So, can't forget about them. But I just think it's a great offensive effort on all cylinders. So we're gonna keep working.
To start the season, you guys have gone against really tough defenses. You guys are now facing the Jets. How do you prepare for those matchups?
You know, I think, our defense is one-on-one. Our defense is tough, so going against our defense in training camp and having those guys fly around, it taught us a lot. And like I said, our defense is great. We see it day in and day out, so it's not like it's nothing that we, you know, haven't seen. And we just, like I said, we just keep doing our job and keep getting better every day, and we're going to be good.
What have you seen from your quarterback, Bo Nix, the way he's been able to stay resilient and poised and really kind of lead this team?
He's a great person first. No, I got nothing to do with football, but and that resiliency show out there, how great of a person you are, that resiliency show out there on that football field. And, you know what I'm saying, it's unbelievable the things that he do. He's going to continue to keep getting better and better, and I'm excited to play alongside of him.
Appreciate your time, and we'll see you in New York. Jaleel McLaughlin obviously realizing that he really wants to get the run game going early, but high praise for his quarterback. From your perspective, what are some improvements you've seen from Bo Nix from week 1 to now?
Yeah, well, I think it starts with the turnovers, right? And in week 3 against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Bo Nix did not turn the ball over, so that was exciting.
Yeah.
Obviously, still some things to clean up, but I thought when you watched him against the Buccaneers, he was decisive. He stood in the pocket. He stepped up. I think he also knew when to move and when to get out and when to scramble to throw, when to scramble to run. I think there's just an increased level of comfort that's going to continue to come for Bo Nix as he continues to make starts in this league. But certainly in week 3 against Tampa, I thought you saw him make a massive leap forward, and hopefully that continues here for the Broncos.
Yeah. When we come back, we're going to check in with our studio with former Bronco and ESPN analyst Orlando Franklin and Hall of Famer Steve Atwater to break down cornerback Riley Moss's game. And we're also going to reveal the numbers you need to know ahead of week 4.
Bank better with Broncos checking from Ent Credit Union, the official banking partner of the Denver Broncos.
Aaron Rodgers is a guy that, I've always thought about playing, watching him grow up, seeing him just make amazing throws each and every year. Obviously, he's a future Hall of Famer, so I'm looking forward to that matchup. And also Garrett, he's a great receiver as well, too. And they got a very dynamic connection going on right now. And obviously, we got a game plan for him, and we're looking forward to, competing and, being the best, defense we could be to eliminate that for sure.
Welcome back to Broncos Weekend. That was cornerback Pat Surtain II talking about the team's upcoming matchup versus the New York Jets. Now, across from Surtain on the field is Riley Moss, who has been targeted quite a bit this season. So to break down his game, we're going to bring in our specialist and check in back with the studio with Orlando Franklin and Hall of Famer Steve Atwater. Guys?
Okay, thanks so much, Elisa. Big O. Now we're going to focus on one of the DBs, a guy that's relatively new. He came in last year, was drafted last year. Didn't play as much last year. Now he's the starting cornerback opposite the PS2, Riley Moss. Let's take a look at a few plays that he's made. On this particular play, they're going to go in motion. Riley Moss is going to follow him over, and they form a bunch formation, which they're trying to confuse the defense, trying to get the defense to run into each other. They didn't do that. They made a great lane here for Riley Moss to make it through easily, and Riley Moss turned on the jets and was able to make this play on the ball. That's just the way our coaches taught us to do it. What did you see on this play, Big O?
Yeah, Steve, I'm right there with you. At the cornerback position, you want to get your eyes on the quarterback as much as possible. Coming in motion, Riley Moss is able to do that. And then even after the motion, he's able to do that and make a great play on the football right there. Anytime an offense gets in a 3-by-1 set, they're trying to create natural pick, natural rub plays and force the defender to go over the top.
Right.
And now trail that wide receiver where if he's even, he's leaving that little bit of space.
Yeah.
So just Riley Moss understanding the spacing of his DB connection over here and able to get in that lane that you pointed out makes all the difference in the world for him to make a break on the football and force an incompletion. That's a heck of a play from a young man that hasn't played a ton of football.
Absolutely. All right, let's go into the next play here. Riley Moss again, lined up on the outside over here. And this actually is a Tampa 2 coverage. Riley Moss is responsible for the deep flat, and he's gonna break back up on anything short, and he does just that. He's able to see through the receiver back to the quarterback, and as you'll see, when Baker Mayfield, the quarterback, throws this pass, Riley Moss breaks immediately and is able to get a great jump on the ball. Riley Moss is coming. Brandon Jones is coming. Also, Jaquan McMillan, they're breaking on the ball. And Riley comes up, gets his helmet right on the ball, causes a fumble. And Jaquan McMillan does a great job of holding the tight end to make sure he doesn't cover that fumble. Brandon Jones picks it up, scoops, and hopefully he'll score next time, but it gets a great run back.
Yeah. This was one of my favorite plays of the game because it's all three people really working together. You talk about Jaquan McMillan holding the tight end. You talk about Riley Moss and the technique that he's playing. Brandon Jones gets scoops and scores. What I love about this play, Steve, it's the technique. You got Riley Moss understanding the spacing of the defense. He has his back at the start of that play to the sideline. He's looking at Baker Mayfield. He has his eyes in the backfield the whole entire time, and he's able to make a break on the ball and come downfield to make the big hit. So this is another great step in the right direction and understanding the structure and schematics of a defense to be out there, to go out there and make a huge impact play. These are the ones where the offense loves you because guess what? We just got the ball on the 50. Now we're thinking, let's go take a shot and reward our defense because they just gave us a gift, having a huge impact play in the game.
Hey, couldn't have said it any better. Big O, thanks so much. Elisa, back to you.
Thanks, guys. I always appreciate how you two break down the game. Now, going into Week 4, the Broncos are headed to MetLife to face the Jets for the first time since 2020 in New York, a matchup which they won. In the all-time series, they lead 21-18-1. We took a deep dive, and here are the numbers that you need to know. The Broncos defense this season has consistently put pressure on the quarterbacks they face. The Broncos pass rush has recorded 11 sacks in 3 weeks. In week 3 versus the Blitz, Jets QB Aaron Rodgers went 8 for 11 with 91 pass yards, 2 passing touchdowns, and no interceptions. The Broncos defense has the 50 blitz percentage in 2024, the highest in the NFL. Entering week 4, the Broncos ranked 2nd against the pass, 3rd in total yards allowed, 6th in points allowed, and tied for 5th in sacks and tied for 8th in takeaways. With new additions like outside linebacker Dondre Tillman, who had 2 sacks in his debut, it only complements defensive end Zach Allen and outside linebacker Jonathan Cooper. In 3 games, Allen has recorded 18 total quarterback pressures this season, which is tied for the 2nd most in the NFL, behind only Lions defensive end Aiden Hutchinson, and is the most by any interior defensive lineman in the NFL. He needs 2 sacks to tie for the 3rd most quarterback takedowns by a Broncos defensive lineman through 4 games in a season. All eyes will be on Pat Surtain II as he is expected to see time against the Jets' top receiver Garrett Wilson. Surtain has allowed 6 receptions with 63 receiving yards as the nearest defender in coverage in 2024. In week 1, when facing Seattle Seahawks wide receiver DK Metcalf, he allowed 3 receptions for 29 receiving yards. In week 2, he allowed 1 reception for 16 receiving yards to Pittsburgh Steelers wideout George Pickens, and in week 3 allowed 1 reception for 8 receiving yards to Tampa Bay Buccaneers wide receiver Mike Evans. Jets wideout Garrett Wilson leads the Jets with 150 receiving yards in 2024, hauling in 15 receptions and 1 receiving touchdown. Coming from the NFC, head coach Sean Payton is no stranger to facing Aaron Rodgers. Payton is 3-2 as head coach versus Rodgers in his career, all while with the Saints. When facing a Payton-coached team, Rodgers has posted 9 passing touchdowns and 7 interceptions in 5 career games. The last game between Payton and Rodgers came in week 1 of the 2021 NFL season, Payton getting the win 38-3. Rodgers went 15 for 28 with 133 passing yards and 2 interceptions. On the defensive side, Rodgers will see a familiar face in defensive end John Franklin Myers. Myers spent 4 years with the Jets before being traded to the Broncos during the offseason. Myers recorded his first sack of the season in Week 3's win versus Buccaneers QB Baker Mayfield. Denver's defense is top 5 in sacks so far this season. Rodgers has been sacked only 5 times in the first 3 weeks. When we come back, we'll check in one more time with the studio where Denver 7's Bradey King will have your fantasy focus for Week 4, and we'll reveal which player will call game on Sunday versus the Jets. You're not going to want to miss it. We'll be right back.
Welcome back into Broncos Weekend. I'm Bradey King, and it is time for Fantasy Focus. The defense has always been the backbone for the Broncos, and this year is no different. The Denver defense is coming off a dominating Week 3 performance against the Buccaneers in which they sacked Baker Mayfield 7 times and allowed just 7 points. They also had 1 interception, 1 fumble recovery, and this beautiful stat line earned the Broncos defense 15 fantasy points. Now, despite a 1-2 start, the defense has given the team a chance to be competitive in each game, which is really all you can ask for as an offense. They are currently ranked 3rd in total defense behind only the undefeated Steelers and the undefeated Seahawks, who of course they faced and lost to in the first 2 weeks of the season. Now, through 3 weeks, the Broncos defense is averaging 10.3 fantasy points, and they'll look to keep up the consistency, the takeaways, and the quarterback pressure, especially in Week 4 against Aaron Rodgers and the Jets. Another tough challenge for the Broncos. The Jets are 7.5-point favorites, but as Sean Payton has said multiple times, the Broncos don't mind being the underdog. One guy who has a little bit of extra motivation this week is Broncos defensive end John Franklin Myers, who is gearing up to face his former team.
Another week, one of those chances to go out there and just be dominant, put on a dominant performance, play physical, run to the ball, and play with the effort and physicality I always do, except I know the guys. And you play in this league long enough, one thing's for sure, you'll get to know just about everybody you play against. So it's no different. These guys, good friends of mine, but ain't no friends in this business.
This game obviously means a lot just in terms of all the off-the-field stuff. His charities there, the people that you get to know over 5 seasons. I do like the approach he had, that you've got to treat this just like another game, because if you get too emotional, you get too invested, you let it become too personal, I feel like that's when maybe you can get knocked off your game. So if he needs the approach of, I'm going to go in and treat it the same way as playing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers or the Pittsburgh Steelers, I like that from John Franklin Myers. Just take the approach that you need to take. I will say, he mentioned that on Tuesday, there was nothing else to do besides eat, that he thought he ate 14 different times. So hopefully he's digested that by the time we get to New York, because they're going to need him. This defensive front is going to have to play really well against the Jets' offensive line in order to get to Aaron Rodgers. You know, we mentioned the blitz rate and how good Aaron Rodgers is against said blitz, but the Broncos still got to find a way to bring pressure. They sacked Baker Mayfield 7 times. Can they find a way to get to Rodgers, force him out of the pocket, make some plays, maybe get a turnover? I mean, that's what's important here for this Denver defense. And John Franklin Myers, he came in as a trade. He wanted to be somewhere where he was wanted, and certainly this Denver defensive line wants him on their side.
Well, Aric, this is your first time on Broncos Weekend this season. We have a segment called Call Game, where our guests pick a player that they feel is going to call game on Sunday. So I have to ask you, in this matchup, Week 4 in New York versus the Jets, who's calling game?
Oh my gosh, this is a lot of pressure. I'm going to go with the best player on the football team, because it may be my only time here, at least it's certainly my only time hosting this at the Greenbrier. I'm going to go with Pat Surtain II. He's played really well to start this season. You look at him going against DK Metcalf in Seattle, held George Pickens relatively in check, and then probably his best game of the year against Mike Evans. Only 1 catch for Mike Evans. When Pat Surtain was covering him, I believe 24 of 32 coverage snaps there for Surtain. Basically made him a non-factor. This week he'll be guarding Garrett Wilson, probably. You know, if we go with the way the last few weeks have gone, he's their #1 receiver. We'll see how many snaps Pat Surtain plays against Wilson, but certainly when he's in coverage, that's the guy Rodgers is going to look to. Wilson is one of the top receivers in this league, already a couple of 1,000-yard seasons to start his career. But if Pat Surtain can make a big play against Aaron Rodgers, it could be the difference here for the Broncos. Think back to last year, he nearly rescued the Broncos with this crazy interception. The ball got pinned between his legs. Maybe he can make something else crazy happen at MetLife and help the Broncos get a win here in Week 4.
Well, there you have it, and we'll see on Sunday exactly who calls game. So from the Greenbrier in West Virginia, I'm your team reporter, Elisa Hernandez. This is DenverBroncos.com lead writer Aric DiLalla. And for everyone at the studio, former Bronco and ESPN analyst Orlando Franklin, Hall of Famer Steve Atwater, and Denver 7's Bradey King, this was Broncos Weekend. Thank you so much for spending time with us, and we'll see you next week.